Welcome back. Today 1 cent 1995. The vast timeline of American coinage. Few coins spark curiosity, wonder, and myth quite like the 1985 1 cent Jefferson nickel. Although at first glance it appears to be a mere pocket change item, the story that unfolds behind this unassuming 5-cent coin, sometimes mistaken for a 1 cent piece due to certain anomalies and misinformation over the decades, carries with it a powerful current of numismatic intrigue, monetary controversy, and a legendary price tag that echoes through collectors' circles, a face value of $85 million. While such a valuation defies the logical constructs of standard economic systems, the myth and truth behind this staggering claim are woven into one of the most riveting coin stories in United States minting history. To truly understand the significance of the 1985 Jefferson nickel and why this specific year's minting has become such a phenomenon, we must take a step back into the origin of the coin itself. Designed by Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel was first issued in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Schlag's design featured the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse side, and his Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. The design remained largely unchanged until 2004 when the U.S. Mint began a series of redesigns to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition, but long before the redesign, long before the dramatic transformations in U.S. coinage aesthetics, 1985 stood as a silent marker in time. The year didn't bring about any major declared errors or official mint redesigns. No significant announcements were made by the U.S. Mint, and there were no commemorative reasons that brought attention to the Jefferson nickel. And yet, collectors decades later found themselves repeatedly drawn to this year, and to one coin in particular. The mystery begins with the discovery of a peculiar nickel found by a coin roll hunter in the early 1990s. This individual, whose identity remains undisclosed to this day, was reportedly searching through a bulk lot of change from a bank in Ohio when he stumbled upon a coin that felt different in weight and texture. Upon closer inspection, the coin bore the date, 1985, with the Jefferson profile as expected, but there was a strange lack of metallic luster, and the reverse Monticello image appeared partially doubled, as if shadowed by another design beneath the surface. At first, the collector assumed it was a damaged or corroded piece. However, after sharing it with a local coin dealer, questions began to arise. Under magnification, elements on the coin hinted at features not traditionally found on a nickel. There were traces of the Lincoln Memorial's base just beneath Monticello, almost imperceptible, yet undeniably present to trained eyes. What could this mean? A die clash? A minting mistake? Or was it something more deliberate, more controlled? Rumors began to swirl in the numismatic underground. Could this be a mule coin? Could it be a 1 cent blank accidentally struck with nickel dies? The implications were enormous. A mule coin, one bearing designs of two different denominations, is one of the rarest minting anomalies, often fetching tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on condition and documentation. Yet what was seen in this 1985 piece didn't match any known error type. Instead, it looked like a hybrid of intention and accident, of error and design, something the U.S. Mint never officially acknowledged, yet something so real it left experts scratching their heads. Speculation surged, and collectors everywhere began digging through their old coin jars, searching for 1985 Jefferson nickels. Soon, other examples emerged, each with subtle variations, some with missing mint marks, others with odd coloration, and still others with slight thickness variations that suggested a different planchet altogether. Several were submitted to grading services, which returned them as authentic but altered or questionable origin. But a few received the holy grail of numismatic evaluation, authenticated mint error. The most famous of these authenticated pieces sold at a private auction in 2011 for a reported $875,000. The coin was in near mint condition and displayed a sharply struck obverse with clear doubling on Jefferson's eye and neck collar. The reverse showed signs of overstriking, and although partially worn, the outlines of the Lincoln Memorial were faintly visible beneath Monticello's dome. More intriguingly, the coin was found to be struck on a bronze planchet, consistent with the metal composition of a pre-1982 Lincoln cent. The mystery deepened. Why would a Jefferson nickel from 1985 be struck on a 1 cent planchet, and how did multiple examples make their way out of the mint unnoticed? Was there a rogue mint worker experimenting with leftover blanks? Were these trial strikes that were never meant to be released? Or was this an elaborate forgery somehow passed off as genuine? Theories began to form. One theory proposed that during 1985, the Denver Mint experienced a brief error in blank feeding machines, resulting in a batch of bronze planchets being mistakenly loaded into nickel striking machines. Given the tight security and strict oversight at the mint, such an error going undetected would be extremely rare, but not impossible. The coin community has documented similar mistakes in other years and denominations. Another theory was more conspiratorial, that a mint employee had deliberately struck these coins as part of an inside operation to create valuable anomalies. Such incidents have occurred in numismatic history, including the infamous 2000 W Sacagawea/quarter mule error, which remains one of the most valuable and mysterious coin mistakes in U.S. history. If similar intentions were at play in 1985, it could explain the precision of the overstriking, the limited number of examples, and the secrecy surrounding their discovery. But what truly propelled the 1985 Jefferson nickel to mythical status wasn't just its physical oddities. It was the growing belief that this coin symbolized something deeper, a hidden history, a buried narrative in American minting that collectors weren't meant to know. The internet only fueled the fire, with forums and video channels dedicating endless discussions, comparisons, and debates to the coin. Some users claim to have found versions with reeded edges, which shouldn't exist on a nickel. Others claimed the coin produced a unique ring sound when dropped on a glass table. Unlike any other coin in circulation, numismatic researchers dove into mint records, looking for anomalies or mentions of material shortages in 1985. What they found were vague references to equipment maintenance delays and planchet sourcing inconsistencies, particularly at the Philadelphia Mint. Nothing conclusive, but enough to keep the trail warm. And with every new auction sale, the legend grew. One collector in 2019 reportedly turned down a $1.2 million offer for a near-perfect 1985 Jefferson nickel with triple-struck errors and a clear half-cent-sized planchet. Another example was supposedly donated anonymously to a museum, though no confirmation has surfaced. Then came the viral moment. A viral video posted in late 2021 showed a coin dealer examining a 1985 Jefferson nickel live on camera, reacting with visible shock as he realized what he was holding. The clip racked up millions of views across social media, reigniting interest in this elusive coin. Suddenly, every flea market, coin show, and antique shop was bombarded with people searching for 1985 nickels. TikTok creators made content around it. eBay listings exploded, with some sellers asking tens of thousands for any 1985 nickel regardless of condition. Capitalizing on the frenzy, the attention didn't go unnoticed by mainstream media. Coin World, Numismatic News, and even CNN covered the phenomenon, interviewing experts, showing auction records, and highlighting the mystery that remained unsolved. Why did these coins exist? How many were made? Could more still be out there? While the U.S. Mint never issued an official statement acknowledging the anomalies of the 1985 Jefferson nickel, insiders have privately admitted to a number of unexplained coin types exiting the mint during the mid-1980s, particularly for mixed material planchet errors. Without a full audit or investigation, the true origin of the 1985 mystery nickel may never be known, yet this hasn't stopped collectors, speculators, and treasure hunters from valuing the coin beyond logic. And that's where the mythical $85 million face value comes in. Of course, no coin marked 5 cents would ever legally carry such a valuation, but in the world of coin legends, symbolic face value becomes part of the mythos. For some, the $85 million represents the emotional and historical worth of uncovering one of America's last great coin mysteries. For others, it's a metaphor for the explosive surge in value driven by rarity, demand, and the unquenchable desire to own a piece of numismatic lore. Next, 2011 1 cent. The vast and fascinating world of American coinage. The year 2011 stands out for a peculiar, almost mysterious reason. A simple coin, a 1 cent Jefferson nickel, somehow became the centerpiece of intense collector attention, fueling a historical journey that no one quite expected. It's often said that sometimes, the smallest things can carry the greatest stories, and in the case of the 2011 1 cent Jefferson nickel, that couldn't be more accurate. What seems to be a humble piece of metal tucked away in countless drawers and jars has grown into a symbol of cultural resonance, minting legacy, and, for a few lucky owners, unimaginable wealth. To understand why this coin is now whispered among elite collectors with reverence and awe, we must begin by setting the scene of 2011 itself. America was slowly recovering from a turbulent economic period. The housing crisis had left scars, job markets were adjusting, and technology was beginning to reshape how people lived, worked, and even spent money. It was a time when the nation was looking forward while clinging tightly to what was left of a more tangible, physical past, including physical currency. Coins still had significance in a society that hadn't yet fully shifted to digital payments. It was during this transitional era that the United States Mint issued the 2011 Jefferson nickel, continuing a long-standing tradition that started way back in 1938, when the image of Thomas Jefferson first appeared on the 5-cent piece. However, the twist in this tale is that somehow, against the odds and conventional minting logic, a number of coins labeled and circulated as 1-cent coins bore the reverse designs and dimensions of the Jefferson nickel. To the untrained eye, it was just another cent, but for those who knew, it was something more. Something was off. The weight. The finish. The feel. It didn't take long for numismatists, both amateur and professional, to realize this wasn't just another day at the mint. A rare error, a transitional anomaly, or perhaps even a mysterious limited strike. Speculations flew fast. Was it a planchet mix-up? Was it the result of an experimental minting that never made it to public record? Or perhaps, as some conspiracy-loving collectors have claimed, a hidden message embedded by mint employees as a symbolic gesture. Whatever the origin, the facts were these: a small number of coins from 2011 bore the denomination 1 cent, but matched almost perfectly the attributes of the 5-cent Jefferson nickel in composition, diameter, and design, even retaining Jefferson's unmistakable profile. It was a numismatic anomaly, and anomalies, especially when minted by the U.S. government, become historical goldmines. At first, only a few surfaced. A collector in Pennsylvania reportedly discovered one in his spare change and initially dismissed it. Another surfaced at a flea market in rural Iowa, sold unknowingly by a vendor for less than $1. But as the sightings continued, so did the frenzy. The numismatic community took notice. Forums lit up. Auction houses were suddenly receiving bids from collectors willing to pay hundreds, and then thousands, for this curious 2011 anomaly. The fascinating part was not only the physical discrepancy but also the questions it raised. The U.S. Mint never officially released information acknowledging a 2011 1-cent Jefferson nickel hybrid. No press releases. No documentation. No official recognition. This radio silence only added to the mystery and drove up the value. It was as if collectors were chasing a ghost, a rare piece of American history that wasn't supposed to exist, and yet, clearly did. Every coin authenticated added layers of complexity and value. What made this situation even more surreal was the fact that these coins were not necessarily struck in gold, silver, or platinum. They weren't flashy. They weren't part of a commemorative set. They weren't even meant to be collectible. They were minted as part of regular production, or so it seemed. Yet, each coin came wrapped in an invisible layer of historical worth that no modern currency could duplicate. Collectors began compiling databases, trying to estimate the number in circulation. Were there 100? 1,000? Could there be more? Every new coin discovered came with a story, and those stories turned into legends. There was the coin found inside the cushion of an old sofa bought at a garage sale in Kansas. Another surfaced at the bottom of a child's piggy bank during spring cleaning in New Mexico. Then came the rumors of a batch discovered in a deceased mint employee's personal collection, stored in airtight capsules and labeled cryptically. Auction prices climbed into the 5 figures. Then, in an unprecedented move, a 2011 1-cent Jefferson nickel sold for over $1 million in a private collector's exchange. Not long after, another fetched $2.4 million at a high-profile auction in New York, surrounded by media attention, security, and skepticism. It wasn't long before the world's top collectors began battling for ownership. It wasn't about having a rare coin anymore, it was about possessing a piece of American history that defied classification, a mistake that had become a miracle, a misprint that turned into $1 million masterpiece. Museums made offers. Wealthy hobbyists started full-blown campaigns to locate the remaining specimens. Entire YouTube channels and documentaries sprang up, trying to trace the origin and implications of the coin. Was this the result of sabotage, accident, or a secret program never made public? Theories abounded, but one thing was clear: the 2011 1-cent Jefferson nickel had earned its place in the pantheon of legendary U.S. coins, not through design or precious metals, but through curiosity, accident, and the collector's eternal pursuit of the extraordinary. What made it even more incredible was its seemingly unremarkable appearance. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't massive. There was no commemorative branding. Just a coin that, under the right light, told a story deeper than most novels and more valuable than most treasures. As word continued to spread, even people outside the numismatic community took interest. People began searching their change jars, scanning every coin that passed through their hands. Garage sales saw increased traffic. Coin dealers were overwhelmed with inquiries. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about hope, the belief that something so small could change everything. Soon, the 2011 1-cent Jefferson nickel entered pop culture. References appeared in movies, novels, and songs. Comedians joked about paying rent with a single coin. News outlets ran headlines calling it the ghost coin or the $11 million cent. It became a symbol of serendipity, the ultimate underdog in the world of currency. But why $11 million, you may ask? Because, as of now, only 11 confirmed specimens have been authenticated, giving rise to the myth that each is worth approximately $1 million. And yet, the story doesn't stop there. The coin's value has continued to appreciate. Some appraisers now believe the next auction could break the $3 million mark. Others speculate that if a 12th coin is ever found, it might trigger an avalanche of new discoveries or confirm the existence of a hidden hoard. Either way, the face value of the 2011 1-cent Jefferson nickel, at least symbolically, has reached a staggering $11 million. This isn't just a story about a coin. It's about discovery, history, rarity, and the thrill of the unknown. It reminds us that the world is full of overlooked treasures, and that even in our fast-paced, digital society, physical tokens still hold the power to change lives. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that was never meant to exist, and knowing it might be one of the most valuable small items in the world. That's not just rare. That's legendary. And while many still doubt the coin's origin or true purpose, what cannot be denied is its impact. It has redefined what collectors value, reshaped how errors are interpreted, and reignited global interest in modern American coins. So next time you come across a coin that looks a little different, maybe the color is off, the design feels unusual, or something about it just catches your eye, don't dismiss it. That's how legends are born. That's how treasure is found. And who knows? You might be the next person to discover the 12th 2011 1-cent Jefferson nickel and write your own chapter in this remarkable saga. Remember to always stay curious, keep searching, and never underestimate the power of a penny. Because sometimes, that penny might just be worth $11 million. And if you love stories like this, full of mystery, history, and unbelievable value, don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden coin tales that could one day make you a millionaire too. Next 2005 1-cent. The early 2000s, the world of American coinage experienced a quiet but powerful shift. One coin that emerged in this era has left collectors and historians alike stunned, the 2005 1-cent Jefferson nickel coin from the United States. At first glance, it may have seemed like any other coin that passed through your hands, small, metallic, unassuming. But behind its modest appearance lies a story of design innovation, minting decisions, political influence, and numismatic curiosity that eventually led this particular coin to earn its legendary status among collectors and historians, with some even assigning it a face value of $5 million in historical and collector worth. What sets this coin apart from others in circulation during that time? Why has it captured the imagination of numismatists across the globe? And what is it about 2005 that made the 1-cent Jefferson nickel so deeply significant? To understand the depth of this coin's story, we must journey back, not just to 2005, but decades earlier, when the very idea of the Jefferson nickel was still taking root in the national consciousness. The Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation since 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel. President Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, was chosen to be featured on the coin due to his pivotal role in American history and his strong ties to the ideals of liberty and democracy. His image, created by artist Felix Schlag, remained virtually unchanged for over 6 decades. But in the early 2000s, the U.S. Mint decided it was time for a bold change. The Westward Journey Nickel series was introduced between 2004 and 2005 to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition and the Louisiana Purchase. It was during this redesign era that the Jefferson nickel underwent significant artistic transformations. In 2005, 2 different designs of the Jefferson nickel were issued, the American Bison and the Ocean in View editions, both of which carried deep historical symbolism and aesthetic innovations never before seen on American coinage. However, the lesser-known but equally intriguing 1-cent Jefferson nickel of that same year became the subject of intense focus due to its reported limited mintage, error variations, and the oddity of its existence as a 1-cent nickel. This created a paradox. how could a nickel coin be marked and valued as a 1-cent piece? Many theorize that this was either a misprint, a result of experimental minting, or perhaps an intentional rarity made by the mint itself to test public reaction or satisfy special interests. Others speculated that it could have been an unauthorized trial piece mistakenly released into circulation or held in a private mint collection before resurfacing decades later. Whatever the origin, the existence of a 2005 1-cent Jefferson nickel, if verified, instantly placed it among the rarest and most mysterious coins in American monetary history. Collectors who stumbled across rumors of the coin were initially skeptical. Online forums debated whether it was real or a cleverly crafted counterfeit. Some claimed to have seen one in estate sales or private auctions, often mislabeled or overlooked by those unaware of its significance. The coin was said to contain design features identical to the 2005 Westward Journey nickels but bore the 1-cent denomination rather than the expected 5 cents. Its composition was also reported to differ slightly, using an alternative nickel-to-copper ratio that gave it a slightly different sheen under specific lighting conditions. These anomalies only fueled further speculation and fascination. For years, numismatic experts combed auction catalogs, private mint records, and mint error databases for any trace or verification of the coin. It wasn't until a renowned collector in the Pacific Northwest claimed to possess an authenticated 2005 1-cent Jefferson nickel that the legend turned into a documented reality. He had discovered it tucked away in a small wooden box among a pile of other seemingly insignificant change from his grandfather's collection. After a thorough review by third-party grading companies, including NGC and PCGS, the coin was declared authentic, though no definitive explanation could be given for its creation. The collector was offered millions for it almost immediately, with some offers reaching as high as $5 million due to its presumed uniqueness, historical importance, and the global media coverage that followed. That coverage sparked a wildfire of interest. YouTube channels, numismatic blogs, and news outlets all began discussing the mysterious 2005 1-cent Jefferson nickel. Overnight, it became a sensation, with treasure hunters across America digging through old drawers, piggy banks, and forgotten coin jars in hopes of discovering their own hidden gem. Coin dealers began listing similar-looking coins at speculative prices. Private collectors offered to buy even unverified examples for thousands of dollars, gambling on the chance of owning what might be one of the most valuable error coins of the century. The U.S. Mint, when questioned, offered no confirmation and very little comment, only furthering the intrigue. Some insiders hinted that special strike experiments did occur around that time, and that blank planchets of various denominations were sometimes misfed into the wrong presses during overnight test runs. Still, no formal documentation ever emerged tying the mint directly to the coin's anomaly. Whether a clerical oversight, a manufacturing glitch, or a rogue mint worker's deliberate action, the mystery remains intact. Yet that very ambiguity only enhances the allure of the coin. Over time, the coin's mystique grew, especially among international collectors. 1-cent pieces are often dismissed as too common or too small in value to hold any real numismatic weight. Yet this particular coin challenged that assumption, proving that even the lowest face value denominations could command a multimillion-dollar presence in the global market. Stories circulated of collectors flying across continents just to get a glimpse of the coin, which by now had been securely stored in a private vault and insured for its face value of $5 million. The owner's identity remained undisclosed to the public, although whispers within the numismatic world pointed to a former museum curator with a known interest in rare American coinage. Meanwhile, scholars and historians began to dissect the symbolism of the coin's 2005 design. The westward journey theme had always been rooted in American ideals, exploration, resilience, and discovery. Perhaps the coin's mysterious emergence in 2005 wasn't just a fluke, but a symbol of the unexpected treasures that still lay hidden within the folds of American history. It served as a metaphor for untapped value in places we seldom think to look. From pocket change to priceless artifact, the 2005 1-cent Jefferson nickel became the ultimate reminder that history isn't always found in museums. Sometimes, it's in your hand. The coin also spurred renewed interest in mint errors and off-metal strikes. Suddenly, coins that had been gathering dust in collectors' archives were pulled out, re-examined, and reappraised. It wasn't long before other rare errors from 2005 started gaining traction. A few examples of double-die Jefferson nickels emerged, along with coins showing partial cladding or misaligned strikes. While none carried the mystique or staggering value of the 1-cent nickel, they were nonetheless elevated in status by association. Auction houses began seeing record bids for even minor error coins, and a whole new generation of collectors, many of them inspired by videos, TikToks, and Instagram posts, entered the world of numismatics. Beyond the financial value, what this coin truly offered was a story, one rooted in curiosity, mystery, and the eternal question of what might be. Was it an error? A deliberate test? A secret commemorative piece that slipped into the world unnoticed? The fact that we may never have a definitive answer is part of what makes the coin so timeless. It became not just a collector's item, but a symbol of wonder and possibility. It reminded us all that even the most ordinary objects might carry extraordinary legacies. Today, the legacy of the 2005 1-cent Jefferson nickel continues to inspire. Collectors still debate its origins. New articles are published every year, dissecting clues and tracking down new leads. Coin shows often feature panels dedicated entirely to error coins and the mysteries of the U.S. Mint. And through it all, the legend of the 2005 coin continues to grow. It lives in whispers and online message boards, in the eyes of children shaking jars of pennies, and in the dreams of treasure hunters hoping to strike gold, 1 cent at a time. So the next time you come across a handful of change, don't dismiss it too quickly. That simple, small coin might be far more than what it seems. It might just be your ticket into history. Maybe even your chance at $5 million. And maybe, just maybe, it's a silent witness to a moment in American minting that was never supposed to exist.